Hello, wherever you are in the world. My name's Charlotte Beauvoisin, and you're listening to the East Africa Travel Podcast by Diary of a Muzungu. In this week's episode, we're talking to more cool people doing awesome stuff to protect our planet. In particular, we're talking to Malcolm Wilson. Today, we are back in the forest. There is so much more that the forest has to reveal to us, and I'm surrounded by experts. I am in my element. Malcolm is a legend in bird watching circles. He's been a huge inspiration to so many people, particularly in Uganda and South Africa. I'm so excited that I got a chance to speak to him one-to-one. In fact, there's so much to cover. At the ringing table, next to the birders' lounge at Sunbird Hill, and later in our conversation in one of the cottages. That we decided to split this into 2 episodes. But even if you don't know much about birds, I know you're going to really love these 2 episodes because Malcolm is an amazing raconteur with a fascinating life story. I love these conversations because I get a chance to sit down and talk to people that I might have known 15 years and still get to know them in a whole new way. Thank you for listening, and big thank you to everyone who sent me a message. I wanted to share this particular one with you. Sozi of the Birds of Uganda podcast. Sozi, what a lovely guy and an expert in recording sound. He said, I've just listened to you arguing with the ibis, which was episode 16. Such a beautiful episode. The walks, the reflections, the natural conversations with your neighbours, the taracos in the distance, and your calm voice. Worth every minute. Wow, what an endorsement. I'm still experimenting with the best type of content for the podcast, but I can tell you this week's is one of my favourite. Are you following us yet? If you follow us on Apple or Spotify, for example, you automatically get notifications when there's a new episode. Please, if you haven't yet, give us a review. Give us a ranking. Help us share some positive stories, conservation messages, and travel tips for East Africa. On to episode 33. I've been working in Kampala for a few weeks, and I hear that Malcolm Wilson is visiting the country leading a trip of birders. The first stop is Kathy's garden in Munyonyo. Kathy is a long-term Uganda resident and an expert gardener. Her gardens are full of tropical birds that Malcolm has been studying and monitoring for years, and she has the most incredible view across Munyonyo into Lake Victoria and Lutembe Bay. I think it must be the first time that I've noticed Bulingugwe Island, a forested island of indigenous trees owned by the Kabaka of Buganda Kingdom, just a stone's throw from Kampala city. It's amazing to see it's there and it's still protected because so many forests have just been cut. It's a strong image that's stayed in my mind ever since. And it's a beautiful spot for people to decompress before they come up country with us. It's most of a day's drive to get from Kampala to Kibale Forest and Sunbird Hill. And when we get there, we race straight down to the Birders' Lounge, just in time to see Malcolm and the birders coming back to the ringing table, excitedly holding a number of bags of birds. So the way it works is this group are not just watching birds, they're ringing them. And what that means is they have a series of nets, I don't know, they might be 50 metres long. And the nets are super fine. They are made of silk. They're almost invisible. And they're put at strategic points trying to catch certain birds. Sunbird Hill is a 43-acre rewilding plot. It's on private land. It's owned by the NGO In the Shadow of Chimpanzees. And it has a number of habitats, and this attracts a variety of different species. So Malcolm and the Sunbird Hill team have placed the nets in different positions. And when a bird is caught in the net, it's not harmed at all. Malcolm or one of the team will very carefully, very gently remove the bird and put it in a cloth bag. You have to be very quiet and calm when you do this to calm the bird down, and then quickly identify and ring it before releasing it. Well, as an amateur birder, this is an extraordinary experience to get close to people who are so expert. Not only do they know their birds, they're catching birds that I didn't even know were around. The process takes just a few minutes. Malcolm will gradually get it out of the bag, hoping that he doesn't get pecked, because he does get pecked and he's got scars on his hands. And then there's the process of identification, not just saying it is a whatever kind of bird, but sexing it, finding out how old it might be. Does it already have a ring on? The rings are different colours and different sizes, and Malcolm collects a lot of data that he writes in a notebook and shares with different ringing schemes in Africa. The point of all this is to build a database of knowledge about biodiversity, the impacts of climate change, or any other number of environmental issues. but it also traces the patterns of movements of birds. We arrived at Sunbird Hill just in time to see Malcolm and his group get back to the ringing table holding a number of birds in cloth bags. I can't believe it. Shining blue kingfishers. Not one, not two, but three. I've only ever seen one, and it was just a flash of blue. And this time I get a chance to see it up close. It's a dazzling bird with a lethal looking beak like a spear. The spear is a giveaway that it uses it to catch fish. And of course, that's why it's round our pond. On my first morning back at Sunbird Hill, I walk along the forest trails and reconnect with nature, and many mornings, weeks, months and years of exploring the forest edge. There are a few changes, being a tropical rainforest, so I'm always looking out for the small details. I look down and I see a footprint, an unusual footprint, and I wonder if it's a cat. I get really excited and start daydreaming, and I think maybe it's a golden cat. I'm looking for something new and start daydreaming, and I've only ever seen a golden cat once. And that was many years ago when Julia and I were driving through Kibale Forest one night. The next day, I spend time chatting with Nick Biaba and Robert Bagonza, two of the naturalist site guides at Sunbird Hill. They are so full of stories and excitement, and their latest little project is setting up a couple of camera traps, and I can't wait to hear or see what they have next. We've got a couple of very entertaining pictures of baboons looking into the camera lens because of course their face is reflected in the glass. Guess what? They've caught a golden cat on the camera. I have actually seen the footprint of a golden cat. They confirm it for me. And actually, since recording this episode, Uganda Wildlife Authority have launched golden cat tracking our side of the forest. Well, that's a story for another day. The Sunbird Hill boys have been busy digging a new wildlife pond, they call it. It's much bigger than I expect it to be. It's the size of a swimming pool. It's in the swampy area where the River Dura comes out of the forest. I didn't really know what to expect from it, so I'm amazed when Hope not only brings me some fresh tilapia that she's been farming in that pond, but then she tells me that one of the staff has seen leopards there fighting, in his words. Well, the Sunbird Hill boys debate the likelihood of there being a leopard, and actually they aren't found in Kibale Forest. But when they ask a few questions, they get to identify them as serval cats. I've never seen them in the wild. Again, they're nocturnal, not dissimilar to leopards in their markings. A cat that is a lot bigger than a domestic cat, but quite a bit smaller than a leopard. It has a long neck and quite big pointy ears. But still, what drama, what exciting conversations. The ever resourceful Hope, my niece, is always quick to farm, whether coffee, pineapples, sweet potatoes. She's very industrious, and she doesn't miss the opportunity to farm fish in the wildlife ponds. I don't think that was the intention of the pond, but she doesn't waste any opportunity. I do admire her. Anyway, fancy that. Me with my little single gas ring on my wooden balcony cooking fresh tilapia that Hope has been growing in the wildlife pond. Robert tells me about some of the other birds they've seen down at the new pond, including shining blue kingfisher. I'm amazed. I can't wait to get down there and see whether I see a flash of blue one morning on one of my walks. Julia Lloyd, Sunbird Hill founder, and I travel back to Kibale Forest just in time to see Malcolm come back from the nets with a number of birds in bags. Not one, not two, but 3 shining blue kingfishers. We're all so excited. I'm pretty sure this was a first for Malcolm to ring this species of kingfisher at Sunbird Hill. Our naturalist guides are being trained at the same time as they're observing all of this. We have visitors and we have the whole family as well. It's a day that none of us are ever going to forget. This week's conversation starts at the Birders' Lounge. We have a ringing table, and what that means is Malcolm has his bird ID books and his notebooks and his ringing tools, sets of pliers and rings of different colours, which he will expertly attach to the leg of birds that he recovers from the nets. The table's in the shade, and there's a little hook where he hangs the bags of birds before he identifies them and quickly releases them. We have some stunning close-up photos of a number of birds that we've caught over the years at Sunbird Hill. And I'll share some of those on my blog, Diary of a Muzungu. If you hear the occasional bang, that's Malcolm dropping the pliers on the wooden table. It's all part of the atmosphere. Our conversation starts at the ringing table. Robert Bagonza, one of the Sunbird Hill naturalist guides, gives me some of the highlights of the last few days hosting Malcolm Wilson and his guests. You'll hear a short clip from the ringing table as well. Everyone is concentrating, trying to be quiet, trying to contain their excitement. Later in the episode, I spend time one-to-one with Malcolm. What I love about these podcast conversations is I learn so much, even from people that I've known for 15 years or more. Malcolm's been one of the key people in helping us develop Sunbird Hill and train the team. In fact, his connection with Julia Lloyd goes back to the 1990s in Queen Elizabeth National Park. It's amazing to see the impact that one person's passion and commitment can have on a whole industry. Malcolm has lived an extraordinary life. He tells us how he thought of the Sunbird Hill name, how he borrowed his grandpa's binoculars when he was a boy, and how seeing a picture of a whale-headed stork that he found on the breakfast table inspired dreams of Africa. You might know that same bird as the shoebill now. The naming and renaming of birds is one of the topics that comes up in this podcast episode. I really struggle with it. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I've enjoyed recording it for you. Let me hand over to Robert and Malcolm.